All right, thanks for tuning in. I'm recording this after Thursday's practice for the 49ers, and definitely some good and some bad, maybe some very bad for the 49ers coming out of this Thursday practice. The good is that Deebo Samuel was back out on the practice field. He missed the game week 3 against the Rams with the calf injury, but he was cleared for limited practice. I saw him running routes before during the warm-up session, and he looked to be running very well. So it looks like he has a very good chance to be ready to play Sunday against the Patriots. Also, George Kittle, he disputes the notion that he was limited. He thinks that he was full. He looks like he's ready to go. He missed that game against the Rams with the hamstring injury. Now, some bad news for the 49ers. Early in practice, uh, Curtis Robinson, backup linebacker, special teams player, was carted off the field, and it did not look good. And so I know the fear for the 49ers, they're listing it as a knee. The fear is always in this situation that it's a potential ACL. Going to have more clarification on that later, but potentially a really serious injury for Curtis Robinson, a guy that I have tremendous respect for because he's been around the team, practice squad, keeps coming back, always does the things necessary to put himself in the mix, and he won a spot on the 49ers 53-man roster. And a lot of people, myself included, thought that he was worthy of a more significant role on defense with all the 49ers problems on defense, especially on third downs, with Devondre Campbell being kind of a liability in coverage. So, keep your fingers crossed for Curtis Robinson. And then also Jordan Elliott sustained a foot injury and looked like he was carted off the field as well during practice. So when you look at where the 49ers go without Javon Hargrave on the team, basically, he will go on injured reserve on Saturday. The 49ers will probably make some roster moves on Saturday. Well, they definitely will make some roster moves on Saturday. But Hargrave, more than likely, out for the season. He'll be undergoing surgery on his triceps. Shanahan said maybe an outside shot that he's available for the postseason of the 49ers go deep. So Jordan Elliott will see what his situation is. 49ers will release their official injury report with, the out, questionable, doubtful, all that stuff. That'll come on Friday. So Elliott and Malik Collins were in line to be the starters at defensive tackle for the 49ers with Javon Hargrave out of the lineup. So now it's Kevin Givens, and the 49ers will certainly look for the practice squad to elevate some guys and to see if they can put things together in the middle of their defensive line. One other note, Jacob Cowing did not practice Thursday due to an illness. And then two guys were full. Trent Williams did not practice on Wednesday due to an illness. He was back on the practice field for their padded practice on Thursday. And then Brock Purdy, who Kyle Shanahan said on Monday after the game, after Purdy rushed 10 times for 41 yards, that Purdy was experiencing some back soreness. He appears to be full go, full participation. And he said that Brock Purdy said he's feeling better and better. And by the way, on Sunday, Brock Purdy's 25th regular season start for the 49ers. The 49ers are 18-6 in those regular season games where Purdy has started. So looking to push that to 19-6 against the New England Patriots on Sunday. Brock Purdy talked on Thursday about some of the plays, including that play to Brandon Ayuk, where he admitted that there was, some hesitation there, that maybe it just wasn't as crisp when the Rams blew that coverage and Ayuk went to the open spot. And instead of running the curl, which he was designed to run, once Brandon Ayuk saw the blown coverage, he ran to green grass, or in this case, green artificial turf, and he didn't necessarily make a big deal to throw his hand up, which he probably should have done, but it did create a little bit of confusion for Brock Purdy that Ayuk had cut off that route and had run a different route. And so it just took him a bit of time, a little bit too much time to process it. And he says that one of the things that went through his mind was, where is that safety? Um, this I heard someone say this recently, and it's a good point, and it's counterintuitive to, I think, how most people think of football in the quarterback position. there's so much to see out there, and you have to have a really good read on what defenses are doing with your pre-snap read. And then if there's a rotation that goes on, quarterbacks have to know exactly what they're looking at. And basically, they have to know what to rule out at the snap of the ball based on where your receivers are running the routes. The saying goes, if you're a quarterback, if you see everything, you see nothing. In other words, you have to have a really good idea where you're going with the ball initially. And then, if something happens late, like a late rotation, team being in a different defense than what you diagnose them to be in, you make that adjustment. But this is a situation in that game that we all know that the play I'm talking about, 49ers could have taken the two touchdown lead with about 4 minutes left. Ayuk had green grass, again, green turf ahead of him. If Purdy had recognized it initially and made that throw, it's a touchdown. I noticed in the comments section, at least one person commented on how I went viral. Um, I asked a question during the press conference on Wednesday about the contingencies that the 49ers have on offense for busted plays. And, my line of thinking was that Kyle Shanahan, he'll go over one play and talk about it for an hour. And so in the 49ers system, they do have a lot of different contingencies built in for different defenses, what they're showing, route adjustments, everything else. So my question to Shanahan, albeit long-winded, was, do they practice or do they go through the scenarios in the event that there is a blown coverage? Because he did say that Brandon Ayuk ran the right route, or he did the right thing by recognizing the blown coverage. Well, Shanahan, I believe his comment was, that makes no sense. I did talk to a player. A player came up to me in the locker room on Thursday and said, "Hey, by the way, I think that was a good question you asked, but it was just too long-winded." So I think the thinking was that Shanahan, who, the team has had two straight losses, probably wasn't in the mood for that. Hey, no harm, no foul. I don't take offense. Was it a stupid question? That's debatable. Did I ask the question poorly? That's not debatable. I definitely did. But hey, we move forward. It's all about playing cornerback, right? You got to have a short memory. So 49ers, right now, a lot of stuff going on. I mentioned, Javon Hargrave is out. 49ers are going to have to do some patchwork on that defensive line. Stay tuned on Friday to see what's going on with Jordan Elliott and where the 49ers are going defensively. Nick Sorensen, the defensive coordinator, was asked about, well, I asked him about where his focus goes after these two games against Minnesota, against the Los Angeles Rams. Is there a common thread that runs through both of those defensive lapses, multiple defensive lapses, a lot of them on third downs, a lot on the deep ball, some big passer interference penalties? And he said that, he takes it all on himself as a defensive coordinator. That's his job. But also, it hasn't been just one thing. Hasn't been one player, hasn't been one coverage, hasn't been one game circumstance. It's just been a lot of things that go wrong for this team. And the 49ers expect to have one of the top defenses in the NFL. And through 3 games, they haven't had one of the top defenses in the NFL. So they have an opportunity to get right against the New England Patriots, a team that doesn't have a whole lot of dynamic playmakers on offense. But you know what they're going to try to do. They're going to try to run the football. And the 49ers have to be able to stop them on first and second down, and then create those third and long situations where they can get after Jacoby Brissett. But I'm kind of looking at the New England Patriots wide receiving core, not a lot of threats there. 49ers don't have the challenges that they've had in really week 1 against Garrett Wilson and Aaron Rodgers, week 2 with Sam Darnold and Justin Jefferson, and last week, even though the Rams were lacking Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua, they still had a deep threat, a speed burner with Tutu Atwell that they couldn't contain. So the Patriots are severely lacking with offensive weapons, but the 49ers can't take anything for granted. In fact, speaking of the Patriots, I'm just reminded that there's a reason why they wanted Brandon Ayuk. They went after him. They had a trade arranged with the 49ers. They were willing to pay Brandon Ayuk big time money because they needed a number one receiver or something even resembling a number one receiver that they don't currently have. But Brandon Ayuk very clearly didn't want to go to the Patriots. He wanted to remain with the 49ers, ended up signing that big money extension. So now, with the possibility that Deebo Samuel will be back, that Juwan Jennings is coming off a great game, 11 catches, 175 yards, 3 touchdowns. And by the way, Brock Purdy talked about just his confidence in throwing the ball to Juwan Jennings when he's in single coverage. He knows that Juwan Jennings, with his height, he can go up and get the ball. And at the very least, he knows the other guy, the defensive back, the cornerback, isn't going to catch the ball while Juwan Jennings is in his presence. So you have Deebo Samuel, Juwan Jennings, and then Brandon Ayuk, who it's about time for him to get going. And once he does, that 49ers offense, whether Christian McCaffrey is out there or not, 49ers offense will be a lot better, especially with George Kittle likely coming back as well. So that's where we are as the 49ers wrap up their Thursday at work. Some new injuries, some guys coming back, and we'll have a lot more on Friday when we see who's out there on the practice field and what their injury report looks like. In the meantime, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate all the comments, all the likes, and all the subscriptions, and we'll be back here real soon.